Welcome to One-on-One with Walt Laskos. In this brief podcast, you'll learn how to most effectively address senior financial exploitation. Now, here's Walt.
Today, I'll depart from my usual theme of financial scams and fraud prevention to discuss another topic that's near and dear to my heart. Saturday, July 6th, is the observance of the International Day of Cooperatives, an annual celebration of the cooperative movement meant to increase awareness of cooperatives worldwide. The 2023 UN Secretary-General Report on Cooperatives and Social Development acknowledged that cooperatives have a track record of promoting the economic and social development of all people, including marginalized groups. And for those of us with ties to credit unions, we all know, or should know, that credit unions are financial cooperatives as well, governed by the same business principles and values embraced by all other co-ops. To help us gain a deeper understanding and appreciation for cooperatives, I've asked a dear friend to join us today to share his perspectives about cooperatives. Paul Hazen is Executive Director of the U.S. Overseas Cooperative Development Council. He's also a past president of the National Cooperative Business Association. He's devoted his entire career to elevating the cooperative voice, both domestically and internationally. And today, folks, he's with us. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you, Walt. Great to be here.
Well, Paul, let's start by having you give our listeners a description of your work at the U.S. Overseas Cooperative Development Council.
Sure. The U.S. Overseas Cooperative Development Council is a membership organization of 10 U.S. cooperative development organizations and cooperatives. And one of them, I'm sure your listeners will recognize, is the World Council of Credit Unions. And these 10 cooperative organizations have been organizing cooperatives in the developing world for over 60 years.
You know, as we mark the observance of International Cooperative Day on July 6th, what would you say is the state of cooperatives in the world today, Paul?
Well, I believe that cooperatives are in a great place, both here domestically and internationally. And the theme for the International Day of Cooperatives is Cooperatives Build a Better Future for All. And I think that's what we're all about. Here at OCDC, we've just completed researching cooperative members in 7 countries, developing world countries. And what we found in each country is that cooperative members are better off financially than non-members. They're less likely to be poor. For women, it's an opportunity to join the formal economy. And so these are the incredible benefits of cooperatives. And so with that type of track record, we are seeing a real increased interest in cooperatives around the world.
And Paul, I've often thought to myself, if there's ever a way to advance and spread democracy throughout the world, it is through cooperatives, given the fact that cooperatives embrace a democratically controlled business. One member, one vote. Would you agree?
Absolutely. We see this happen all over the world. Many times, as being a member of a cooperative is the first time people have the opportunity to practice democracy, to be able to elect the board of directors and have a say in how their businesses run. And then we see those same people learn skills there that spill over into general society and the economy, fostering democracy around the world.
I've traveled throughout Europe, and cooperatives seem to be very much part and parcel for the experience that one would have. Here in the United States, sometimes it may not be as much so. What's your assessment of cooperatives here in the United States?
Well, as you mentioned, I've spent almost my entire career working in the cooperative movement, almost 40 years. And I've never seen the level of interest and enthusiasm for cooperatives any of that time except what we're experiencing now. And I attribute that to a couple of things. I think the Great Recession of 2008, 2009 demonstrated to people some of the inequalities that exist in our economy and our society. and that people started looking for a different way to conduct business. And especially seeing this with young people who are using the cooperative model in very unique ways to address these inequalities. And I think that's a very exciting aspect of where we're at right now here in the United States. The other shift that we've seen is that since the federal government has basically backed off in promoting the development of new cooperatives, states and cities and localities have taken up that cause. And so across the country, we're seeing city governments and state governments putting resources into developing new cooperatives.
As you know, Paul, the majority of listeners to this podcast are associated with credit unions, and hopefully all are aware of the fact that credit unions are financial cooperatives, with their business model being defined by a set of cooperative principles and values. In talking recently with a veteran credit union colleague of mine, he noted to me that many of those working at credit unions today seem to be losing an appreciation for what truly distinguishes a credit union from a for-profit bank. And we both agreed on this. It's those principles and values that are the golden gem, I believe, that serves to distinguish credit unions in the financial services marketplace. With that in mind, how do you view those principles and values?
Well, the cooperative principles and values are the foundation of our businesses. It's what sets us apart from other types of investor-owned businesses. And I used to focus my attention on the principles, but lately I've been more focused on our values, the cooperative values of self-help, self-responsibility, democracy, equity, equality, and solidarity. And that's what is, I believe, attracting many new people to cooperatives, are our values. And it's our competitive advantage in the marketplace. And so I think it's vital to stress our values and our principles and to incorporate them into the daily operations of our cooperative businesses or credit unions.
Are there any examples that you might be able to apply to that, Paul? Because, you know, when I think if we were to encourage others to understand and embrace the nature of the cooperative principles and values, and if they're fully embraced, you know, how they really can empower a credit union's growth and success. Is there anything specific that could be added to that?
Well, yes. I mean, we have surveys over decades that indicate that when you explain to a consumer what a cooperative is and what our values are, they'd much rather do business with a cooperative than another type of business. So we have to get those values and principles out there in front of people because they're very attractive once they understand them. But we have to put that into action. I think a great example of that was the response that people had, you know, during the Great Recession of 2008, 2009, when the banks were failing and people flocked to credit unions. That's a great example. Another one is the recent interest in buying local and trusting where your food comes from. And so we've seen a great increase in the amount of local farmer cooperatives selling their produce or, you know, their crops to the local community because people feel that they can trust their local farmer to make sure that the product that they're buying is good quality. We also see that at food co-ops when, let's say, there's a recall of a particular type of food item. People go to the co-op store because they know they can trust what they're buying there. So I think we have some good examples, but the key is leading with our values and demonstrating those in our day-to-day operations of our businesses.
You know, well said. I really believe that today the focus needs for any organization to be placed on the ethics that it embraces in its business operations. It seems that, you know, folks are complaining about high prices or the quality of what they get relative to their services or products they receive. And, you know, it's not what it should be. And when you look at cooperatives, I'm a member of a River Valley Co-op that's in East Hampton, Massachusetts. You look at the produce, you look at everything. It is so well run, and I'm so happy to be part of an organization like that. There certainly is a difference, a distinction when it comes to a cooperative over a different type of business model. Because, as you say, within a cooperative environment, there's ethics, there's values, and it's, I know a friend of mine, Howard Brodsky, would say it's capitalism with a conscience. It's really a well-run organization.
I'm privileged to be able to work with cooperatives here domestically and internationally, and I often comment that a farmer in rural Minnesota is interested in the same thing as a farmer in Zambia. They want to make sure that they have their families well taken care of, their kids can get education, and they get health care. And many times it's a cooperative that's the key to being able to support those families.
For listeners, Paul, looking to learn more about you and the U.S. Overseas Cooperative Development Council, where should they go?
Yeah, they can go to our website, ocdc.coop, and we have a lot of great information there on our work internationally, the work of our members, and some of these research reports that I've mentioned here in the call. So we encourage people to go there and to take a look, and I think you'll be inspired about the work that the U.S. cooperative movement is doing around the world and making a difference in people's lives.
Thank you, Paul, for joining us today. Happy International Day of Cooperatives.
Thank you, Walt.
And thank you all, too, for listening. Stay safe.
If you've enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to follow One-on-One with Walt Laskos wherever you get your podcasts. Feel free to send comments to walt@laskoscommunications.com. And to learn more about how you might support the prevention of elder financial scams, visit laskoscommunications.com.